What used to be maybe the most exciting rivalry in the NL East for the New York Mets doesn't have quite the same buzz, but we're going to try to talk about a series that we hope can bring a little bit of excitement. I have Josh Neighbors on today for a crossover. We are previewing Mets Nationals.
You are Locked On Mets, your daily New York Mets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Locked On crossover. This is Ryan Finkelstein, the host of Locked On Mets, joined once again by Josh Neighbors, the host of Locked On Nationals. We're the long-standing NL East hosts, right? No one has been in the NL East longer than us. We've seen this division change a lot. You came right after they won the World Series in 2019?
I did, yeah. So a lot of success that I brought.
So it's your fault, basically, right?
100%, it's my fault.
So the Nationals currently sit at 10-20. The Mets 20-10. Two teams that could not be any further from each other at this stage. But here's an interesting thing that I want to talk to you about, Josh. Right now, you know what the Nationals have done? They've scored more runs than the Phillies, the Braves, and the Marlins. Second best offense in this division. How have they done it?
That's a great question. I'm not even sure I know. Because it feels like they put up a lot of zeros. They actually had a really nice road trip they just had where they scored a decent amount of runs. They had some nice games in Colorado. They had a couple really nice offensive games against San Francisco too, which is really weird. That's the one place where you actually don't really expect it. Josh Bell would be the number one thing I would tell you. So that's a guy that I wanted locked up at the beginning of the year. But I mean, he has been, it's funny. I was talking to somebody today. If All-Star voting opened today, there is a much better case for Josh Bell at first base than there would be for Juan Soto in the outfield, which is a really odd thing to think of. But like he has been dynamic is the word I would say. I mean, for both sides of the plate, he has been awesome so far this year. So he's really figured it out, and home, road, wherever they go, he's hitting. So, and look, as bad as Juan Soto has been, and bad for him is a relative term. Yeah. He's still on base a lot, and it seems like Josh Bell drives him in, half the time he's on base. So that's a big part of their offense. Josh Bell has been kind of the catalyst, which is a weird thing to say.
And they also have Yadiel Hernandez, who's doing really well as well.
He's been awesome.
Who is this guy? I mean, because is this I know I've seen him, but like, I didn't know, like, okay, wait, is this like a prospect that's figuring it out or whatever? I look at, and I'm like, wait, he's 34. He's only been in the major for 3 years. It makes no sense. The guy's hitting like 360, I saw.
Well, yeah, he has been fantastic. And this was a guy that, he had a little bit of minor league experience and came over from Cuba, signed in, I think it's like 2016. So, at that point, what is that, 6 years ago? So he's 28 at that point, and then spent some time in AA in 17 and 18, then makes his way, around the minors and finally gets the call at 32. And what I'll say is, he is somebody that swings a lot, which is like what you kind of want from a 6-7 spot guy, right? Like this is not an 8-9 guy who's up there to, turn the lineup over. It's not a top 3 guy who's just, does actually hit for some decent power at times, but like, he's just there to swing in the middle of the lineup or the back part of the lineup. And like, I kind of respect the hell out of it. And it's worked so far this year. I think he's a really good asset actually at the trade deadline. Also, He's got one more year of team control after 34. So you don't have to worry about like, okay, how much it's going to cost us. Like you can kind of say, okay, this guy's a 4th outfielder for us. Not, this is no Willie Mays out there. But this, this guy's 4th outfielder, maybe if you want a DH, maybe if you want just somebody deeper in the lineup, you can play. He just gives you a lot of options. So he's been awesome so far. And basically made himself at the point where it's like, kind of has to be an everyday guy, or, at least every other day guy.
Yeah, it's crazy. You basically right now, I think those two guys have a great chance of getting traded too, which is the funny thing is Juan Soto has a little bit of help now, and they'll probably just take that little bit of help that he has and get rid of it. Nelson Cruz has not been good at this stage. Is Nelson Cruz washed? Is that over with now?
Yeah, I mean, he looks washed. I don't like. It's also 30 games, and here's the thing: is that unless he hits like sub 100, I think he's going to have like, I still think he has some trade value. just because you and I have mentioned this a million times, it's a change of scenery sport, right?
Yeah,
Chris Flexen is, for the Mets fans out there, it's like, this guy's doing what now, right? Paul Sewald, he's doing what
crazy.
now? That stuff happens a lot in this sport. So, and also it's a guy that we know has like done it before, right? This is a guy
Yeah.
that's so proven. So, yeah, I mean, this is like the worst case scenario for him. But I still think he's got some limited value, and I don't think he's in the national. I mean, unless keeps going really really south, I don't think he's in the Nationals at the end of the year.
It's crazy. It's just a weird year for the Nationals so far. Two more players I want to touch on before we'll talk a little Mets, and then we'll get into the pitching probables at the end of the show today. Just want to get an update on the Scherzer Turner trade. It seems like Hybert Ruiz has looked pretty good from the
Yeah,
limited time I've seen him. Josiah Gray seems to be the only starter that is actually at decent at all, even gives the Nationals a chance. It seems like they found two pretty interesting players here.
yeah, and I've mentioned this before. Like, I think they could have gotten both those guys for maybe one of the guys they traded.
Yeah.
To be honest, because the Dodgers. I mean, I think with that team, their farm system is so prestigious that like when you go to them and negotiate, it's like, all right, I know you have a surplus, and we
Yeah.
know you have a need. So I don't think they had to get I'm not sure about the other two guys, Gerardo Carrillo and Donovan Casey. Like, I really could not tell you how good of players are going to be. But Josiah Gray is. It's funny enough that you mentioned Scherzer. Like, he's a fly ball pitcher,
Yeah.
so he's had a lot of problems with the home run ball, which is concerning. And this year it continued. It was last year and this year. It's concerning, even though it's not summertime yet and the ball has been deadened, that it's still happening to him. But I mean, it's starting. He's starting to get on a little bit of a like every start from him recently in the last 4 or 5, I guess I could think of, have been pretty decent. I mean, this guy, who is giving them a chance to win every fifth day, and that's for this team. I think that's kind of what you need out of these guys at this point. And he's had a shoulder issue before, so they're trying to bring him along slowly. They're protecting him. Usually won't go along more than 5 innings. And then Keibert Ruiz, the one thing that we've seen across baseball, especially in the draft, is the emphasis placed on catching,
Yeah.
because it is such a premium position where it's like, okay, and this is not anything new. It's just guys that can run your staff and hit. It's a really hard thing to do, and also be good defensive catchers. Think about the relationship building that comes with being a catcher, right? It's difficult. It's really hard to build a rapport with every, and I know they got cards and they got stuff they flip it in and out. And they know each, like, you have to know your guy and know when to go and talk to him and know when not to talk to him and know what pitches to call against what guys when. And also, when your turn is up in the lineup, you also need to produce. There's a reason why a lot of catchers hit late in the lineup, right? I know the Mets know all about that right now with how well their catchers, or not well their catchers, have been producing. So I think they found somebody, and he's streaky right now, and he hasn't had a lot of power displayed yet. But I think at his age, he's pretty mature for a catcher, and they got a pretty good one. I think that's the sense I'm getting, is this guy. I'm not sure if he's going to be worth a Max Scherzer and a Trey Turner, but he appears at this point to be a pretty legitimate starting catcher, and he's only 23.
Yeah, and look, at the end of the day, to get two pieces, sometimes we see teams make trades and they get nothing back. So at least they got something of value.
Right.
But the good news for the Mets is they won't see Josiah Gray in this series. They won't even see Eric Fetty, who's been the second best pitcher in that staff. We'll get to the pitching probables at the end, like I said, because it's pretty laughable. Before we get to any of that, though, I want to tell you all about BetOnline.net, which is your number one source for all of your betting stats and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's basketball playoffs and the start of the Major League Baseball season. BetOnline is your continued source for all of your sports wagering information, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in the action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Now, when it comes to the New York Mets, when I've had Connor on of Locked On Phillies, I had a little more fun asking this question because right now, like I said, there's not a lot of zip in this rivalry, but I do want to ask all of the Locked On hosts, how great are the New York Mets? I mean, what are you seeing? Are they the best team in
They're
baseball?
awesome. They're awesome, and here's why. It's not win streaks that's getting this thing done for them. It's like
Yep.
2 out of every 3. I mean, they have not lost a series yet. And how many series is it now, Ryan? They played 30
9.
games, so it's 9 series they've played.
Yep.
not lost one yet. And I mean, am I wrong here? Like, it's just like they're really consistent. They're awesome at bouncing back. I'm not sure how many rubber games they've had, but they've won them all so far this year,
Yeah.
right? They get to bounce back in that Phillies game, and I mean, the ultimate bounce back on the Thursday the Thursday night too, right? And the one loss was pretty close. Like, this team is just miles ahead of everybody else. Is that is that kind of your read on this right now? Like, they're good. They're
100%.
not too high, not too low.
Well, it's the complete opposite from the Nationals when it comes to the starting pitching. I mean, it's every single day. The one maybe little slight hole I can see in this rotation right now is Taijuan Walker.
Right.
Didn't look great his last time out, but looked good his other two times. He got hurt in his first start, only pitched 2 innings. Was good in his return start, was bad in his second start. We'll see what he does if he takes the ball against the Nationals. But Jacob deGrom's looming. So the fact that in a month, maybe, if everything breaks right, probably more likely at the All-Star break, but still, you can replace Taijuan Walker with Jacob deGrom and potentially roll out a rotation that's deGrom, Scherzer, Bassett, Carrasco, and then Tyler McGill, who's been great this year. Like, this Mets team's just going to keep rolling. When you get
All right, I
starting
have to
pitching
pause
like
you.
that-
I had to pause you right here, though.
Yes.
So I think too often we do this thing where we talk about these rotations. It's like, here are the best 5 guys that we've got, and wow, how good is that? That never happens, though. Like, when does that happen where it's like, here are all 5 for 2.5 months in a row, and wow, isn't this great? Like, I get it, but if I'm a Mets fan, I'm approaching it like this. Like, I know Jacob deGrom is fantastic. I know he's awesome, but I'm not even thinking about it like he's part of the team. Because
Fair.
when has he shown recently? I don't know what it is going on. Like, I really don't know, because he talked about last year how he said, "Oh, I'm throwing easier, and the velocities, it's the velocity was up, and that wrecked his arm." Like, I don't know what it looks like for deGrom to be out there for a long time. And look, I'm not even sure. This crazy thing. I'm not even sure they need him to win at all.
No.
I actually don't know if they do. So that is, but I think that's also the brilliance of how the team is built. Like, they're currently managing that situation I just talked about. There is no deGrom. He's not there right now. And so, there's the Taijuan Walker issue, but like, every team's got somewhat of a weak link, right? So that's the one thing I'd push back on is like, the good thing is, even if the perfect vision doesn't work, which we're seeing right now, the Mets are still an awesome team.
Yeah, well, it's because of the front four, and that's really, it doesn't really matter who the fifth is.
Right.
The prime Mets is having a deGrom part of this team. We don't know if they'll get there or not. I mean, I will say that so far the injury status is promising, no structural damage. But he also is doing something called loading on his shoulder, which I've never heard of in my life on an injury. Like,
What does that mean?
Yeah, it's strengthening and loading his shoulder for the next month, and then he's going to be able to get another MRI, and then once that gets cleared, he'll start throwing. So I'm guessing.
I'm just like, even if he comes back, like, somebody else might go down, right? So
Yeah,
if it's not him, it might be somebody else.
Yeah, but the point being that what they're getting out of Carrasco, McGill, and Bassett along with Scherzer is really the anchor of this team, and then you even have David Peterson who's throwing the ball well. So the bottom line is they have the depth to make it through this season. And you look at the starting lineup, and they've been one of the best offenses in the game, and I still don't think we've seen the best of them yet, because you still have Pete Alonso, who is doing well, but he hasn't hit a ton of home runs yet. He had 2 the other day to really kind of juice those power numbers, but they haven't always been there. And Starling Marte has been good, but he hasn't been what he was last year. So there's even room for improvement for a team that, as we said, has yet to lose a series, and has won 2 out of every 3, and is sitting here first team at 20 wins.
I want to ask you about the lineup, because they were rumored for big names, right? And they've gone big game hunting. They got Lindor, and they ended up trading also for Baez. But the acquisition they made this offseason, like, they were not these high dollar guys. It was 3 solid guys to help build the strength of their lineup. And I'll say, besides like that catch, and even the catcher spot at some points in time can be dangerous, but like, I don't think on any day you're really shocked, if it's Mark Hanna or Escobar or McNeil or Lindor or Alonso, and Marte's had some nice game. Marte was the guy who came up with the big hit, in the 9th inning the other night to put him ahead. Like, you're not shocked if any of those guys do it. Now, maybe they have one more, or Dom Smith, even to that extent. Maybe they have one more move to make maybe in that department. Do you think there's one more with the lineup to make?
I think right now, I think if you look at where they're at as a team, there's going to be one different bat that's going to come into the equation by the end of the season, assuming everyone stays healthy. That could be a prospect emerging like Mark Vientos or Brett Beatty, who I think are relatively close. That could be the Mets deciding they want to add something at the trade deadline. I think that right now, unless Dominic Smith or JD Davis can get hot and sort of solidify that spot themselves. And I think they're going to have a lot of run to do that because the lineup has performed so well up to this point. I think there might be one bat that needs to get added, but again, you're nitpicking and you look at what this Mets team has done. You talk about the additions. It's just getting quality at bats in big spots, like having guys like Mark Canha and Eduardo Escobar that hit the sacrifice fly and do those little things that aren't sexy, but it gets the job done. And I think the other thing that has to be mentioned a lot is the biggest change from the returning players last year to this year is Jeff McNeil again.
Yeah.
I think that whatever the messaging was with the two hitting coaches, it got really convoluted for McNeil in particular. And I think they've got him back to just reacting and trusting his great play discipline, his great bat to ball skills. And also, I think the dead baseball is helping McNeil because it's got him away from even thinking power. Right. It's just, let me look at the hole and let me hit he doesn't care about his exit velos or anything. He's hitting little ground balls like Jeff McNeil can do, and it's going to put him in position to maybe win a batting title.
One more question for you on the Mets side of things. So the bullpen,
yeah,
it looks pretty good. I've got some serious questions though about, like if we're doing this thing where it's like, all right, the starter's out in the 6th, right, in a playoff game.
Yeah.
Who are you cool with going out there? So obviously we know the 9th is taken care of, but like, are we positive we're okay with Joely Rodriguez, with Adam Ottavino, with Trevor May, with Seth Lugo? Like, are you cool with? I know things will change in the matchups depending, usually for Joely, but like, are you cool, or do you think there's one more guy they need to add in to that mix?
I think that there's probably a need for one more arm. I will say Drew Smith has yet to give up a run.
Yeah, he's
this year.
fantastic. I forgot to mention him. Yeah, he's fantastic. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. So Drew Smith and Edwin Diaz are the two guys right now that I can say pretty definitively you trust. Adam Ottavino has pitched really well, but I just have no faith in him come October. And Joely Rodriguez has been better, but like, yeah, I like Chase and Sharif has thrown the ball well. I think honestly, when we get to that point, the Mets' strength when it comes to the end of these games is going that 2019 Nationals, method of using the starting.
You're going to pull Tyler McGill out there? Is that what you're saying? Or
yeah,
I guess who would it be? Taijuan Walker?
I'm thinking I would think McGill more than anyone. Yeah, right. I think McGill's the guy who has stuff that would play up out of the bullpen that you would see maybe getting 3 innings and closing out a game for the Mets. I think that's where it most likely goes, but I also can see this is a team where Steve Cohen has been very aggressive. So I would not be shocked at all if they look for a closer type to just add another lockdown arm to pair with Diaz and Smith.
All right. I know you have the next read ready, so you do that.
Yeah, I do. Well, I want to tell everyone that this episode is brought to you by Rock Auto. With the ever-increasing numbers of makes and models, it's now impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts you need. Why endure the often pointless and seemingly intimidating questioning and wait while the person behind the counter orders the parts on their computer, choosing only the brand their warehouse happens to carry, when instead you can go to rockauto.com, save 30%, 50%, maybe even 100% more for the exact same auto parts from a chain store or new car dealership. Rock Auto is a family business that has been serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. Their prices are reliably low for every customer. Go explore their easy-to-use website today to find the solution to your auto parts needs. Go to rockauto.com and see all the parts available for your car or truck. And once you're there, write Locked On in their How'd You Hear About Us box, so they know that we sent you. Amazing selection, reliable low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com. So Mets fans, here it is.
Great. I've got some great news for you. Awesome news for you.
Let's talk the pitching probables in this series. I don't even want to mention the Mets first. Let's just go through the Nationals. Because the Mets actually haven't even announced their starters just yet. Maybe they're thinking about giving their guys a blow and calling somebody up from the
ESPN
minors.
has them listed. I'm not sure what you use. They have them
Oh,
listed.
okay. I was looking at MLB.com. So
See, it's not really reliable. Would you like to hear the Mets one? Because I feel like that's the easy part.
Okay, you know what? So let's do this. Let me guess. Okay, just based on me.
All right,
counting
Tuesday.
days. So Carlos Carrasco.
No. On Tuesday?
No.
No.
Carlos Carrasco is not taking the ball game one.
No.
They have what? Tyler McGill.
Yes.
So Carrasco did pitch before McGill, if I'm not mistaken. So it should be Carrasco's turn, but we'll see. I guess maybe they will go McGill. It'll be those two guys and Taijuan Walker.
Yeah, Walker's in the middle right now. Carrasco's the last game.
Yeah, that's not happening. Carrasco, I think ESPN's wrong there. I don't know why you would hold Carrasco when he's been the best of the three, and I think he should be in line to pitch on full rest for that first game. He was pitching in the doubleheader, which I believe was last Tuesday. So he's had a week. So I imagine that. See, you know what? ESPN's not reliable, Josh. I'm sorry.
No, they're not. They sometimes just have a hole where somebody's supposed to be pitching, and I'll go to Twitter and look. It was like 3 hours ago. It was announced that somebody was pitching there. So that is fair. All right. Would you like to hear who's pitching for the Washington Nationals?
I got it right here, but I'll let you tell the Mets fans that
I've got great news, Mets fans. It's Patrick Corbin in Game 1, who did pitch a complete 8-inning complete game last time out. So like, I guess
can we talk about that first?
Yeah,
that was the most hilarious. It was such a fifth place team good start. It's like, hey, you saved the bullpen, Patrick. You gave up 5 runs, but hey, only 3 of them were earned. I also saw there was a headline on, if you click on Patrick Corbin at MLB.com, it said something like Corbin like dazzles with 3 strikeouts or something.
We didn't walk anybody, which is a positive. I will say this: the last 2 starts for him, 6 innings, 4 hits, 3 runs, 2 earned, 2 walks, and 8 Ks in 6 innings against the Marlins. And then the 8 innings, 9 hits, 5 runs, 3 earned. Shout out to Alcides Escobar for that. And then 3 Ks. The problem was the start before that, he gave up 7 runs in an inning and 2/3. And you go look at the rest. It was not good. So, yeah, you get him in Game 1. Then you get Aaron Sanchez in Game 2. And look, if you say, who the hell is that? I'm with you. I actually don't know. I mean, I know who he is. I've seen him pitch this year, but like, I could not give you a thorough breakdown on how Aaron Sanchez, the pitcher, matchup.
I could tell you he was great as a Blue Jay 7 years ago, and that was injured. 3 arm injuries ago, and he's been around. I think he's been with the Astros. He's been all over the place, and he hasn't been successful anywhere. And right now he's got an ERA close to 9. So
yes,
not good.
That's pretty average for the Nationals. If you ERA around 9. And then you get Yoan Adon in the final game, where, he's 23 years old. He might end up being decent, but there's a whole lot of his ERA is 7. So I mean, I'm not sure.
Is he Chris Flexen? When Chris Flexen on the Mets, where you just have this guy who's in a rotation that probably shouldn't be 2 years, a little bit too early. And then maybe in 3 years,
he's definitely way too early. This is a necessity thing. I mean, this is also a team that signed, Anibal Sanchez to pitch for them this year as the starters, and he's been injured. Shocker, is 39, and he has not gone yet.
Good for Anibal Sanchez for getting one more MLB check, right?
Way to get the bag, right? But people showed up to a bullpen, and all of a sudden people were like, "Oh, he's gonna get signed." And Nationals like, "That's the guy we got to have. That's the guy that we have to have." Your game time is not sure if you like to do this, but 7:05, 1:05 on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. If you're a Nats fan, see it on MASN. If you're a Mets fan, on SNY. There you go.
There you go. Yeah, it gets you all ready to go for this series. Look, I don't want to say that this is a must sweep. It's of course not a must sweep, but when you look at the pitching matchups, it's kind of hard for me to think that this is a series the Mets shouldn't be able to go out and win every game.
Yeah.
I mean,
the Nats are 3-11 at home, so.
That's the home field advantage, huh?
Yeah, it's gonna be
7 on the road.
South. They're pretty decent on the road. They actually
Yeah. So I think that this is lined up pretty nicely for the Mets. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't even think they have swept a series yet this season.
That's what I was thinking. So my prediction is 2 or 3, just because that's par for the course.
Yeah.
And potential sweep. So
here's my question: which game do you think the Nats get?
I think it's the Corbin game.
I can see. That's what I was thinking too.
It's probably the Corbin game. Because actually, he didn't pitch disastrously the first game of the year against the Mets. So I could see that happening. Or I could see, I mean, the Nats bullpen has actually been pretty decent. Like, in stretches, like there have been some times where it's like, can you give us 6 innings? The bullpen's like, sure, we'll give you guys 6 shutout innings, but we lose the game anyway. So that could happen, and maybe a ping pong game 3 of the series and a day game. But I'm going to go with 2 or 3, and I'm 51% 2 or 3, 49% sweep.
I'm going sweep. It's got to be a sweep. That pitching's so bad. And at some point, the Mets are going to sweep a series, and this would be the series easiest to sweep. So, Josh, why don't you tell all of my listeners where they can find your work over at Locked On Nationals?
Yeah, if you just heart the Washington Nationals, you want more sadness. No, if you guys want to find our content, you guys can find us on Twitter at LO_Nationals. You guys can find the show wherever you guys get your podcast and on YouTube as well. You can find me at Josh Neighbors_. It's on the screen here. And also, if you're listening, once again, at Josh Neighbors_.
And for the Nationals listeners who might be tuning in, you can find me on Twitter at Finkelstein Ryan. You can find the show at Locked On Mets. You can find Locked On Mets wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. As always, thank you for making this your first listen every day. Now for your second listen, check out Sully with Locked On MLB, where he'll keep you updated with everything going on.
You're going to say Locked On Nats. Come on now.
Well, if they're listening, they've already tuned into today's show, okay? But you can check out what Josh has done for your second listen. You want to listen to I guess, Monday's show, or listen to Sully with Locked On MLB, wherever you get podcasts.